This is the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Welcome to a Monday edition of the show. We've had a pretty busy weekend, Grant, but unfortunately the sports world was not too kind to us and didn't give us a whole lot to talk about over the week.
Yeah, apparently they don't really like us all that much.
Maybe, I don't understand. Why? Why not?
Maybe
Why would they not give us more to talk about? We are the Bax and Grant Sports Show. They should know.
Maybe we should give Roger Goodell like a couple more $1 million to line his pockets.
You mean the $35 million that Roger Goodell made last year? Or I'm sorry, in 2013 isn't enough?
Nope.
Okay, well we'll get to that.
And it's been increasing every year, so who knows what he even made
Exactly.
in 2014.
Exactly. Well, we'll get to him in a minute, Grant. But anyway, welcome to the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. You can check us out Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Sports Radio America. We broadcast live from 12 to 3 Eastern on TuneIn Radio, Live 365. You can find us here on Spreaker, live from 9 to 9:45 Central Time, and you can download our show on iTunes as well. But Grant, the more important thing, where can the good people of the world get a hold of us and find us and speak with us? Aside from, coming on the show and seeing our wonderful faces in the public world.
Yeah, seeing our wonderful faces all the time, yes. They can contact us on Twitter and on Facebook. We also just got an email this weekend.
Yes, we did.
That is the bgsportshow@gmail.com. And then our Twitter handle is @bgsportsshow. And then Facebook is Bax and Grant Sports Show.
Yes, indeed. And you can contact us anytime, whether it's during the show or not. We always encourage engagement with our listeners, especially during the show. It's always fun if we're talking about a topic and you've got an opinion. Shoot us a tweet, shoot us an email. You can write on our Facebook page as well. We're happy to bring you up and mention you as well. We do have Joel Wolfrath joining us later in the show, a rather loyal listener of ours. He will be joining us to talk about the Wisconsin Badgers and college basketball as well. We'll have to have him on for his golf segment eventually as well. I'm curious to know his thoughts. His riveting golf segment. Grant's not a huge golf fan, but if you lived and breathed golf like Joel does, like you do for hockey, you'd understand.
Well, grass grows and ice doesn't, so I mean, you can just think about that.
Oh, okay then. I'll save that for Joel. You can take that up with Joel when he comes on later. But anyway, Grant, Roger Goodell, I'm a little upset about this, and I know you are as well. We saw this article come out on on ESPN.com yesterday that Roger Goodell made $35 million in 2013. Why in the world is the NFL commissioner making $35 million?
And you said something interesting about that, too, that I'm sorry if I'm stealing your thing.
No,
that
please.
You told me, but I'm giving Baxter credit for telling me this, but he saw somewhere that Roger Goodell in 2013 made more money than the entire New York Jets defense.
Which is a little ridiculous because you look at how much a NFL player gets paid as it is. I hate to keep bringing up this example. Even look at guys like Jay Cutler. He made $17 million last year. Peyton Manning's expected to make $19 million next year. You can have 2 or 3 players on one side of the ball get you over $35 million. So whether or not it was a bad year for the Jets, which, I mean, it's always a bad year for the Jets, how do you have 11 players not make more than $35 million a year? And how does the NFL commissioner? Maybe he was siphoning money from them, and now he was making it. It's ridiculous.
An odd thing is the NFL is a nonprofit organization.
Oh,
so
sure they are.
It's weird that a nonprofit organization can make somebody who absolutely does nothing for the league, where an entire defense who actually, well, it's the New York Jets, so they really don't do anything for the league either, but that's the story for another time. But somebody who just sits around and makes bad decisions all day makes $30 million. I mean, where can I get that job? I just want to
NFL commissioner. That's where you can get that job.
I just want to say the opposite of every wrong thing. Just be able to sit down, stuff and face with donuts all day, and not give a care in the world. He doesn't necessarily do.
He's done a lot of good for the league. You can't just. This is not.
What good has he done for the league?
This is not Goodell Bash Hour. He has expanded the league. He brought part of the Houston Texans being in. He did now help us with our footprint in Europe. We do have NFL games in Europe and London now. The expansion of there's different programs that help with players in terms of they're looking for things for free agency. They're looking at concussion protocol. He is doing right things, but then you throw guys in like Adrian Peterson and Ray Rice. And anybody, whoever the commissioner would be, I'm not defending him because I think he did not handle those things properly. But you look at anybody really in that situation, and it would have been hard to really decide who to punish more, who not to punish more, who to reinstate. There's been issues all over the place.
Well, specifically looking at the Ray Rice and even more specifically the Adrian Peterson thing, Adrian Peterson and Ray Rice were not convicted by any court. They were not found guilty of any of their crimes that were brought up in court. And then Roger Goodell in Adrian Peterson's case and the Ray Rice case punished them for something that the U.S. judicial court system says that they are not guilty of, but Roger Goodell still finds them guilty anyway, which, in my opinion, is against the law. Mm-hmm. So that's where I really strongly disagreed. I didn't think the question was hard at all.
No,
but apparently it was a struggle hour for him on that, which
yes. Yeah, well,
I don't agree with.
Exactly. Well, we'd like to know your opinion. Wonderful following of the Baxter Grant Sports Show. Shoot us a tweet at BG Sports Show or send an email to bgsportshow@gmail.com and let us know your thought. Is Roger Goodell overpaid, or what exactly is going on with him? Grant, over the first 8 years that Roger Goodell has been commissioner of the NFL, he's made $150 million. $150 million. What would you do with $150 million in 8 years, Grant? Over 8 years.
Make a lot better decisions than he's done.
Okay, then. Fair enough.
Or if I made the bad decisions he's done, I'd hire people to do that.
I think we should transition, Grant, before this turns into Grant's rant hour. But, Grant, today's ESPN Sports Center question of the day presented by Baxter's Desk Calendar. Who holds the NBA record, Grant, for highest scoring average in the playoffs? You shouldn't have to think too hard on this one.
Is it LeBron James?
Oh, no.
I was going to go with Will Chamberlain.
No!
I shouldn't have to
Michael Jordan.
Oh,
my
You threw me off.
He averages 33.45 points a game in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's actually really impressive.
That is impressive. Not as impressive, Grant, as what I did yesterday. And now I do a lot of things on a daily basis, Grant. I'm a very busy man. I'm planning a wedding. I run this show with you, and I live my life to the fullest. But I did something yesterday, Grant, that I'm very proud of.
What did you do yesterday?
I bought backyard football and backyard basketball. I repurchased my childhood dreams, and I had a bit of a schoolgirl moment over the weekend when I realized that now you can download Backyard Basketball and Backyard Baseball 2015 on iPads, on Android phones, on other things of that nature. So now I have both of those games on my iPad and phone, but then I did also order Backyard Football and Backyard Basketball for my computer as well.
So basically what you're saying is that school and the wedding and everything is now paused and on the side, and now it's backyard sports, and that's all you're going to be focusing?
Well, I mean, I'm going to continue my life as normal until they show up. I mean, the games are supposed to show up within the next week or two. But yes, once that happens, it's probably just going to be the Grant Sports Show, because I'm going to be very busy playing and building my dynasty like I used to back in the day. You need moments like this, Grant, where you can revisit your childhood and focus in on what was important back in the day.
Yeah, I always, when I go back home, I like to pop in the old Madden 2005 that I used to start. I forget who's on the cover. It's a Raven. But
Ray Lewis.
Is it Ray Lewis? Because I didn't think it was Ray Lewis.
I think he's the only Raven that was ever on a cover.
Okay, then it might be. But it's always fun to pop that in because that was the first Madden game that ever got me started. So,
well, there you go.
I definitely hear what you're talking about.
Okay. All right. Well, going along with the backyard sports theme from basketball, I had a chance to play with Steph Curry in the new game, which is really cool to see him, although he wasn't that great, unfortunately, but maybe it's the user, not the player, in that regard.
That's probably what happened.
That's more than likely what it is. But speaking of Steph Curry in the NBA All-Star Game, Grant, we knew it was going to be a 6,043 to 5,284 game, but it ended up only being a 163 to 158 game in favor of the West All-Stars.
Which still is a high-scoring game.
That's a very high-scoring game. That's, like we said, it made the NFL Pro Bowl look reserved this year. I think that was neither team got over 30 points. I don't think.
No, they did not.
So, looking across the board, Russell Westbrook for the West had 41 points. He just was lights out all game long.
Tied for the most points in an NBA All-Star game.
You are correct.
Will Chamberlain.
Yep, and then that's a good name to be associated with. And then over in the East, you had LeBron James, of course. I'd be shocked if he didn't lead. He had 30 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals. So just a good production from both sides. And I mean, we came to think that this would happen. I heard that there was some dunking by Dirk Nowitzki in terms of some alley-oops. James Harden dropped 29 points. We really didn't surprised by that. Steph Curry only had 15 points, but he was a little tired after dropping as many bombs as he did during the three-point contest, which he won as well.
Yeah, well, I wanted to talk about Steph Curry for a little bit.
Please, I enjoy Steph Curry.
In the third quarter, they were not feeding him the ball at all, and I was like, come on, get him involved. He's just sitting wide open, because I really like him as a player, so I kind of just watched him, and he was getting open. He was just sitting on the three-point arc, and all these guys are just throwing up their three-pointers, and then he finally gets the ball, and he's just got a hand in his face, and he's like, okay, I just want to do something with the ball. So he just lobs up this huge three and swishes it. And then the very next, I don't know if it was the very next one or the next offensive.
Yeah.
And next offensive push. This was like halfway through the third quarter. He goes in and splits three defenders and then does this ridiculous layup kisses it off the top of the glass.
Ooh.
And it was dirty. I was like, this guy wants to get in the game.
Exactly.
He's sick of sitting on the sideline.
I would be too. Well, Steph Curry did go 3 of 10 from the three-point arc, so that was unfortunate for him. But he still did, like we said, had a good game.
Well, compared to some of the other guys, and compared to how many three-pointers were taken throughout the whole game, it was absolutely ridiculous.
Let's see, the amount of
30-plus for each team,
65 were attempted for the West, and 68 were attempted for the East.
It's absolutely disgusting.
So the West averaged shot 38% from the three-point line, and the East shot 33%. So a little disgusting in that regards of not exactly the type of production you want, but you can kind of understand. It's like, well, it's the All-Star game. I'm going to shoot from midcourt. I'm going to be over here next to the water boy and just throw a shot up and see what happens. But
taking the 4-point shots.
Yeah, exactly. Did you hear that they're trying to implement a 4-point line in the NBA now?
In the NBA?
In the NBA.
I know it's like a Harlem Globetrotter thing.
That is, yes. But no, there is actual talk about possibly adding a 4-point line because the 3-point line's too easy.
Well, okay, that's okay.
Just
if the 3-point line was too easy, why are the best NBA All-Stars with nobody in their face making 33 to 38% of the 3-point shots?
You're gonna have to talk to them about that, Grant. I don't know. I don't have that kind of inside information.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're talking college basketball. Joe Wolfrath is here to talk about the Badgers and the heck what's going on with Kentucky and everybody else in the top 25. This is the Baxter and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Bax and Grant Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Grant, we have the distinct pleasure of welcoming one of our loyal listeners, Mr. Joel Wolfrath, into the studio today with us. Joel, welcome. It's wonderful to have you here on the show. You say you've been a lifelong listener of the show?
Yeah, I've been listening to quite a few episodes since you guys started.
We are honored to have you, sir. You are here today to bestow some of your college basketball knowledge on us. You got some good stuff for us today, don't you?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm more interested in playing backyard baseball.
Well, see, Grant, I'm not the only one.
Since you have
Yeah, so we're just going to stop the show now. You guys have a good day. We're going to go play backyard baseball.
Backyard baseball is on. I have it on my iPad, and I have the 2003 version on my computer as well. So if you ever want to play, I got you. It's all good.
Great.
I think Grant's just jealous he doesn't have the game.
Right, that's what's going on.
eBay, Grant, I'm telling you, eBay. You can buy anything on eBay nowadays. That's how you're on the show. I bought you to be on the show on eBay.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Spoiler alert. Anyway, so Joel, college basketball, Kentucky, they are men against boys as it is right now. They are doing many things to many teams, but they are on their way to be perfect for the rest of the season. Do you think they have what it takes to finish out the season undefeated?
You know, I'd be surprised if they didn't finish the season undefeated at this point. They've only got a few games left, 6-7 games left, and actually looking at the probabilities, a lot of analysts suggest that they have a better chance of winning out than they do of losing a single game.
Yeah, and that was the talk, too. After the LSU game, they kind of figured that might be their biggest challenge down the last, 10 games of the stretch, and then it ended up not turning out to be that hard against LSU.
Well, looking off of the teams that they have coming up, what one team, if they could beat them, would do it? What's the one team that Kentucky beat?
That could beat Kentucky.
Yeah, that could get beat.
I was like,
yes,
think they
no,
could beat
that
them
could
all.
get beat.
If Tennessee shows up, they've got a home game. Honestly, I would put them as one of the better shots at beating Kentucky. Honestly, at this point, if Kentucky's going to lose, it's going to take a long shot no matter who they're playing. They've already been tested against some other teams in the conference, much better teams than what they've got going left. So Louisville, good example, in their ACC conference. But yeah, Tennessee's been doing all right. If they show up at home, even then, it's still a long shot.
Yeah, Kentucky is always is traditionally a good team, no matter they're home or away. They do have Florida once more at the end of the season. That's their closing game, which is the home. They won at Florida 68-61. So I mean, there was a bit of challenge there from the Gators, but that was at Florida. You have the Gators coming into Kentucky, which is a hard atmosphere to win in. So as much as you'd like to see the Gators maybe pull that upset that final week of March 7th, I kind of doubt that's going to happen, unfortunately.
Their road game percentage is, they haven't lost a game, but
yeah, it's perfect. Yeah,
their performance on the road is one of the factors that's made them such a powerhouse.
Exactly. Well, Joel, you are more of an expert specifically on the Wisconsin Badgers. Our good boy Frank Kaminsky, Sam Decker, all those guys. With the current state that the Badgers are at right now, they're ranked 5th in the AP Top 25. They're ranked 4th in the USA Today Coaches Poll. What do you like about this Badgers team, Joel?
Well, the Badgers have done well so far despite losing Trevon Jackson in the Rutgers game.
Mm-hmm.
But despite that, they've been able to keep it together, win a lot of good games, a couple of hard losses to big teams. I don't know if they'll make it to a 1 seed. They're a pretty safe bet for 2 seed right now. I think if they were to win 6 or 7 of their last games here and then win the Big Ten championship pretty convincingly, I think that they could maybe pull a 1 seed out. But I don't see it being very likely, and the Badgers don't usually do so well with the seedings in general, at least. Maybe I'm biased from Wisconsin.
Well, I mean, you can look at it from a lot of different aspects. I mean, they have only lost 2 games this year. I mean, they lost that Duke game 80-70 on December 3rd, and then they lost January 11th to Rutgers at Rutgers, which you said they lost Jackson in 67-62. But aside from that, they've done a relatively good job. They did go to overtime with Michigan, where they did win 69-64. But aside from that, they've usually looked pretty convincing in all of their games this year. So, Grant, you and I were looking at an article this morning in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel about the amount of depth that the Badgers have, and I think, Joel kind of reassured us with that too, with some of his picks. But do the Badgers have potentially one of the most depth that any team in college basketball does? I mean, you look at Kentucky, that's great and all, but they're pretty young. But the Badgers have pretty decent depth in terms of all classes, all on the court at the same time.
I would agree. But I think another big factor which kind of plays into that is that the Wisconsin starting 5 and even going into their bench can wear you down so much that I think it allows their bench players to come on and play a little better because you're wearing down the front 5 of your opponent because Wisconsin has such a strong defensive game. And I was watching the Nebraska game that was right before their last game against Illinois. And Nebraska, I think, had something like 18 points or 21 points going into the first half. And even though they have been putting up numbers like that in their last couple of games, it was absolutely demoralizing, though, for Wisconsin to be doing that to them because it was at their home court, and Nebraska is known to have one of the better home court advantages. So to see Wisconsin just totally take the crowd out of it and just wear the team down, I think that's one of their strongest capabilities, and I think that might make the bench a little stronger than people are giving it credit for.
Yep, exactly. You have a good lineup all over the place, and it really does help. Going especially into the tournament, you want to have a strong bench, because that allows you to contend with people on numerous levels. Whether it is, your starting five or your, first man off the bench, you can add different dynamics to your team and really help you attack opposing defenses in a specific way. Now, the Badgers do sit atop the Big Ten standings. They're 11-1 in conference, 23-2 overall. Right behind them is Maryland. They do have to take on the Terrapins February 24th. That's an away game at Maryland. Maryland's ranked number 19th right now. I'm more concerned about the game that they finished the season at, Grant and Joel.
Right.
They go to Ohio State, who's ranked 23rd right now. Ohio State did lose yesterday to Michigan State. I'm sorry, on Saturday they lost. So we'll see where that goes and how that exactly plays out. But of the Maryland or Ohio State game, Joel, which one worries you a little bit more as a Badger fan?
Oh, they're both contenders. Maybe Ohio State. They're always tough, especially to play at their home location. That's going to be a tough game. And closing out the season and going into the Big Ten tournament, it's going to carry a lot of influence, too. I think there's going to be more pressure on the players to play well in that game.
Yeah.
Big conference.
And we've seen from Ohio State this year, too, they're not as dominant as they have been in years past. They're 8-5 in conference this year. They're 3 games back from Wisconsin. 3.5 games back. They're 19-7 on the season. Not an awful season, but anytime you lose more than 5 games, I feel like in a college basketball season, it's really hard for you to be a higher ranking team or higher ranking seed going into the tournament.
But Ohio State does have, I'm blanking on his name right now, but they have the first freshman this season that posted a triple-double. It was the night that Wisconsin beat Nebraska, I know. So it was...
Continue to talk, I'm thinking, I'm looking.
But yeah, I actually kind of want to go back and talk about Wisconsin possibly getting a first seed. I would say that they would need to win out the rest of their games, and to prove a point, because people are saying their schedule isn't difficult and they're a fifth ranked team. They've only played one ranked team and they lost to them. So I think they need to definitely beat Maryland, definitely beat Ohio State, win out the rest of their games, win the tournament, and then I think they have a decent shot of getting number 1 seed.
Is D'Angelo Russell the man you're looking for?
I believe so.
He's a freshman guard from Louisville, Kentucky, 6'5", 180.
I
think that might be the...
I don't remember.
I'm guessing that's
that name sounds familiar, yeah, because I've heard his name a lot this year. So, Joel, if you are Bo Ryan finishing off the rest of the season, which I know you'd love to be Bo Ryan.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
How do you approach the last few games of the season? Do you need to win out to claim a number 1 seed, or if you were to drop one game, do you have a specific... You've only got 5 games left. I'm sorry, you don't...
well, I don't think you're going with the mindset of we can drop this game. I think you go one game at a time.
No, you want to try to win as many as you can. You've got, 6 games left. Penn State, Minnesota, Maryland, Michigan State, Minnesota again, and then Ohio State. So all Big Ten games to finish off the season.
Yeah, there are a few Big Ten teams. Compared to some other conferences, like the ACC or other conferences right now in college basketball, the Big Ten is not one of the most competitive. It's
not. Traditionally, it hasn't
to
been.
be fair, yeah. And so I think if you're going to do anything as Bo Ryan, you're going to go one game at a time. You're going to, as you allow, let your backups play some more. Keep yourselves injury-free any more than you already are. And just try to keep your starters as rested and motivated as you can with each of the closing games here.
Definitely. Well, the Badgers have a game against Penn State in 2 days. They travel to Penn State. That game's at 7 p.m. Eastern. So make sure to check out that game. Joel, any other remarks about the Badgers or college basketball before we bid you adieu for the day?
It's going to be fun.
Okay.
I'm going to enjoy watching it.
All right.
And during the commercial break, if you guys wouldn't mind signing this beautiful picture of yourselves.
You brought us a picture of Grant and I. We would be honored. We do have to get to Grant's rant first, so thank you, Joel, for stopping by today. We will look forward to having you on the show a little bit later. Joel Wolfrath, you can find his many opinions on Facebook. Joel, you got to get a Twitter. I would love to see Joel on Twitter. Wouldn't you, Grant?
Oh, I would love it. I would love it very much to see all those
It
comments.
needs to be
on
like
there.
Golf Man, like whatever, 93 or something like that. Or whatever, something. I don't know. Isn't that? Were you born in 93, Joel?
92.
92. That's right. I forget that you're the same age as I am.
I
but
want to talk to Grant about golf sometime, too. We need to
Oh,
straighten
gosh.
this guy's opinion out a little bit.
I know Grant would love to chat golf with you. But anyway, Joel, thank you for stopping by. We look forward to having you on again in the future. So now it's time for Grant's Rant. All right, Grant, I don't know what to say to you, Grant, because the thing you're ranting about today is...
Near and dear to your heart.
Yes. How did you know? When you think Baxter Colburn, you think of what Grant is about to rant about. So, 30 seconds on the clock, Grant. Get set, go.
So the NASCAR just implemented a new system or qualifier system, excuse me. And yesterday, Clint Boyer, after getting in a crash caused by a lesser-known driver, Reed Sorensen, had a big problem, saying the NASCAR was just making a spectacle out of a qualifier, because that's what NASCAR came out and said. I agree with him. I think they just need to go back to the single car qualifier instead of half the field being on there.
Time's up.
Because
Wow.
I
never thought we would talk about NASCAR on the show.
Well, the problem with it is he was talking about it and saying that the crews put in months of work into these cars and all this money, and then you have one low-budget team come in and then just try to defend and try to get a spot and make some money, and then it just wrecks his car, and I think he might be out for the weekend.
I can understand why he would be upset about that, but all right, we'll come back. We'll let our NASCAR passion fuel us. See what I did there as we talk about the NFL draft and the great Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota debate when we come back. This is the Max and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to the Max and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Grant.
Grant, we had a first. We signed our first autograph.
We did.
As part of being on the Max and Grant Sports Show. As Joel Wolfrath was departing the studio, he issued us a piece of paper, and at first I thought he was asking for a divorce. And I'm like, Joel, I had no idea. You didn't have to serve me. But no, it was a picture of both of us, and he asked us kindly to sign it. So I'm very honored that we have signed our first autograph as a part of the Max and Grant Sports Show. So once again, we were very happy to have Joel on for a segment as he talked about some college basketball as well.
And I just want to say a quick thing about the last segment. I knew I blew off the name, and the name is D'Angelo Russell. So I'm sorry if, for any Ohio State fans, the Ohio State fans, if I offended you. But yeah, D'Angelo Russell posted a triple-double against Rutgers. Even though it's Rutgers, he's still a freshman who is younger than us and producing a triple-double at Division I college.
Yeah, no, that's not
so
easy
that's
to
very
do.
impressive.
Well, Rutgers beat Wisconsin. So, I mean, it's not like Rutgers is,
Right.
crazy good, but at the same time, they were able to beat a team like Wisconsin. So,
Yeah, 23 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists, and a steal in that game.
yeah, not a bad game at all. So, Grant, I have something to talk to you about, Grant.
What is it? You can come to me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's why we're friends. Grant, I'd like to congratulate you as being the co-owners now of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Tennessee Titans. So, congratulations to that.
Yay.
Congratulations. I know you are very excited. With that being said, Grant, you now possess the first and second picks in the 2015 NFL Draft. With that being said, who would you like to select with your first pick overall?
For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, honestly, I think they need to look elsewhere for a quarterback than in the draft.
Okay.
I believe that even though I went digging, and I was actually kind of shocked, I went back and was going to look at first-round draft picks, or number 1 pick for quarterbacks, and I was going to say, oh, look, see how not successful they are. Interestingly enough,
Oh, my.
Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, and Sam Bradford, you can debate.
He hasn't had adequate time. I feel
Right.
I feel bad for Sam Bradford. I really do.
And he's in St. Louis, and he just got injured last year. It's looking up for him. If he produces well this next year, the Rams should be good.
Yep.
Anyway, then Jamarcus Russell, Alex Smith, Eli Manning, Carson Palmer, David Carr, Michael Vick. Now you can agree that some of those didn't pan out. Some of those are like who's that? What do they do in football?
Well, Jamarcus Russell's not even in football anymore.
Right.
I'm pretty positive every single other name still plays. Yeah, everybody else still is on an active roster in the NFL, and for the most part does start for their respective team, whether they're good or bad. Alex Smith, he's a conundrum within himself about how good of a quarterback he actually is, and we'll have to get into that another time. But the big thing that everyone's talking about, all the ESPN analysts, anybody that covers the NFL is saying is that, well, the Buccaneers, they're definitely going to have to draft a quarterback, especially since they got rid of Josh McCown, the guy that they brought over with Lovie Smith last year.
But I agree with that move on how little McCown was playing. I remember we got a chance to watch him in depthly because they played the Packers, and he was just missing passes left and right.
He did not look good.
And I was watching a video of his highlights, and they were talking about...
He has highlights.
Yeah, he has highlights. There was like 4 that they kept on replaying while they were talking about him.
That's how they usually do it, yeah.
If the Browns should draft a quarterback, and...
Buccaneers.
Yeah, if the Buccaneers should draft a quarterback. And I honestly don't think they need to do that right now. I think they need to focus on other parts. Their offense...
Well, they're going to need a quarterback.
They are going to need a quarterback, but I think they need to look elsewhere. Somebody who has a little more experience. I think they need to go look for offensive linemen because they had the 3rd most sacks in the NFL. And even though McCown wasn't the best, you can't produce when you're getting sacked as much as he was.
No, that makes sense. I mean, so you're going to assume then for the second time in, what would it be, 3 years, that an offensive lineman would go first overall like the Kansas City Chiefs did 2 years ago?
I would say that would be the smart decision. Now, if the Buccaneers are going to be smart, I don't know. They do have Lovey, so he might have the better answer, but he did bring McCown over. So we'll see how well that worked out.
How could you blame him, though? McCown came in, filled in for the injured Jay Cutler in Chicago, and then ended up doing really, really good. He did better than Cutler, and when Cutler finally came back for the Bears, all the Bear fans were saying, no, we don't want him. I mean, they kind of say that on a daily basis, but why would you take out McCown, who was having such a fantastic season with Chicago, and then all of a sudden he's back on the bench, and we saw how Chicago did. Chicago missed the playoffs because McCown wasn't on their starting lineup anymore. I think the Buccaneers need to go for a quarterback here, whether it is in free agency or with their first pick, because you've got Mike Evans, who was arguably one of the best wide receivers in college and in the NFL. Right. He had a fantastic rookie season last year. They've got Vincent Jackson, who is a older, reliable. He's like an old Taurus. He just is going to run and run and run and run until he's got about 300,000 miles on him, and then he's going to just slowly fade away. That's not that Vincent Jackson is a Taurus in terms of how fast he is, because he's got very good speed and he's got good hands, even for being a little bit older. But you need someone that's going to consistently distribute the ball. Doug Martin comes back as the team's running back, so you've got a good guy in that. And then the only quarterback currently on the Buccaneers roster is Mike Glennon.
Which he did all right for the Buccaneers and his first season. And it was a building process. He was doing well. They're putting time into him, and then all of a sudden they bring McCown over, and he lays an egg this season. So I think they kind of dropped the ball on that, because now that's going to stunt his growth, stunt his confidence. Similar to we were talking about, now I'm blanking on it, the quarterback that got pulled for the Browns, Hoyer.
Yeah, Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, kind of the same thing, where he played, he had the one bad game, they pulled him, and now he's thinking of possibly a different team.
Yeah,
Same
which
thing.
likely you should. I think Hoyer needs to get out of there ASAP.
Right. But anyway, and then looking at Mike Glennon, they pretty much bench him for an entire season. So just thinking of the mental aspect of what that does to a player, I think that really doesn't help them.
I have the solution, Grant.
What is your solution?
I think the Buccaneers should go and sign Matt Flynn and get him the heck out of Green Bay, because
Oh,
I am
gosh.
tired of Matt Flynn.
I mean, that actually wouldn't be that bad.
Why
because
not?
I think they might be able to get him for cheaper, since he didn't have the best games when he was a starter for the Green Bay Packers when Rodgers was injured.
Yes.
So
I think
they might be able to get him
yeah,
for cheap.
There is an option to do that. On top of that, you also look at guys in terms of free agents that they could sign instead of having to waste their first pick on a quarterback, which more than likely they're still going to end up doing.
Right.
That's how it is. They got rid of Josh McCown. They're basically announcing to the world saying, "Hey, we're going to draft a quarterback."
Pretty much.
Guess what?
Yeah.
But look at it. I mean, you Mark Sanchez. There's Mark Sanchez, Michael Vick. You're thinking of guys that can come in and maybe just relieve some pain for at least a little bit, even if it's for a season or two.
Hey, how about Christian Ponder?
Hey, the right coach, the right change of scenery. You never know.
Now, are you saying to pick up a free agent quarterback, or
I would
you go
recommend
with a
doing
draft?
that. I would recommend picking up a free agent quarterback because that way you can get someone that's a little bit more experienced. Now, Mark Sanchez is a conundrum within himself because we've seen flashes of greatness and we've seen flashes of butt fumbles. And we don't understand what kind of a quarterback he is exactly. You look at a guy like Matt Flynn, he's not awful. I will go on record and say Matt Flynn is not an awful quarterback. He gets it. He knows what to do, but he's not that next level quarterback.
How hard was it to say he wasn't
Yes,
awful?
well,
How
he's
hard
not.
was that?
It was very difficult, but he's not worth that. However, $10 million or whatever that Seattle paid him, or
Right.
15 or whatever that he got with Oakland. Like, he's not worth that much. But Matt Flynn is the type of quarterback that can come into a game, or he can go potentially be a starter in Tampa. But knowing Matt Flynn's luck, they'd find the water boy and be like, "Oh, you're a better quarterback than Matt
Right,
Flynn, but we'll
right.
still pay you a lot of money to sit on the bench." They'd be like, "No, like why? I'd rather go play in the Canadian Football League so I can actually play football. I don't come to the NFL and just sit on my butt all day."
Which I kind of feel bad, because that's what he's done for most of his career.
It really has. He's made a ton of money doing nothing. So, I mean, that's a good job to have.
Hey, so is Roger Goodell.
Oh, there it is. Anyway, but yeah, looking around, Scott Tolzien, Green Bay's going to hold on to him more than likely. Who else? Brian Hoyer, Sean Hill, Blaine Gabbert, Jimmy Clausen, Jason Campbell. There's a few guys that they're not a Mariota or a Winston, but at the same time,
Right.
It all kind of depends on what you want to do with.
The market's not great for quarterbacks.
It's really
right now.
not. It's a bad year to be an NFL free agent quarterback, or be an NFL team in the market for a quarterback, because you've only got about 2 decent guys in the draft, and then when you look to free agency, you're like, well, what do we feel like? Like if it was it would be hard. If I was in charge of Tampa or if I was in charge of Tennessee, a quarterback is a need. Either that, or I need to just put all my eggs in a basket and say, all right, Mike Glennon, you're the future.
Right.
I'm going to go in the draft and free agency, and I'm going to find you a crap ton of weapons, and we're going to hope for the best.
Right, and I definitely think out of the 2 teams, Tennessee should take a quarterback over the Bucs. I just think that it's a bigger need. They have decent enough wide receivers, but if they aren't going to pick up a quarterback, they need to go pick somebody up on defense.
Yes.
Because their line is okay, their receivers are okay, but their defense is more or less one of the more crippling factors that they had. So picking up a quarterback or a defensive player for Tennessee.
Yeah, in terms of Tennessee, I think you draft Marcus Mariota because I think you need to stay as far away from Jameis Winston as you physically possibly can. The reason being, Grant, is because Jameis Winston is not even graduated from college yet from the University of Florida State, but he has already had numerous off-field issues that is, if I were the head of the organization, or if I was the head coach of the Titans or the Buccaneers or any NFL team, I would not want to deal with. We saw what happened with Johnny Manziel. He didn't have a ton of off-field issues, but still, he came to the NFL, and look what happened. Every other day you read something about Johnny Manziel at a party, Johnny Manziel doing this, Johnny Manziel checks himself into rehab. It's things like that you don't need as a distraction for your team. Winston, he's got a Heisman. Okay, I get that. You cut his entire personal life out. Winston's got a very nice football career. He's got a national championship. He's got a Heisman. But flip it around, though. He's only been playing in the league. He's only been playing, 2-3 seasons? Like, he hasn't done enough, in my mind, to prove that he should be the future of an NFL team.
In your opinion, though, who is the better quarterback?
Mariota's the better quarterback. Yeah, I would trust Marcus Mariota over Jameis Winston. Obviously, Winston's got the better NFL size because he's a much bigger guy. He almost resembles maybe a Ben Roethlisberger with his size because he's that big.
Right.
But Marcus Mariota, he has a strong arm. He's mobile. Not that Winston isn't, but Mariota is a little bit more mobile and can get out of the pocket a little bit faster. He's got really good vision. We saw how well he's played in big games. Yes, they lost to Ohio State in the national championship game, but Mariota's been consistent for the last 2 or 3 seasons.
But my thing with Mariota is his zip on the ball and his strength on the arm. Strength on the ball, because I would actually disagree that he has a decent arm. I think he has a arm on the weaker side of things, and you could argue how important that is, but I don't think he's much as a downfield threat or. Like, take, for example, Brett Favre and how strong of an arm he had. Or Colin Kaepernick. You should, if you've ever seen pictures of him, his huge arms.
Sure.
So
a lot of that comes down to technique as well, though. That's great that you can have massive arms, but at the same time, a lot of it comes down to technique as well and how well you can throw the ball and deliver it to pinpoint spots on the field.
But he sometimes has trouble on pinpoint spots when he wants to get, like, if you're just doing a quick slant and you want to get it away from the defender, that's an area that he struggles. But his touch on the ball is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, which I think in the NFL might almost be even more important. I mean, look at a guy like Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't have massive rippling arms.
Right.
He's got decent-sized arms, but he doesn't have, like, look at me, I'm Colin Kaepernick-sized arms. So we'll see. I think Tennessee, they'll draft a quarterback. Both guys are going to get drafted.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I would never draft Jameis Winston. I don't care. If I need a quarterback, I will go to free agency. I will take a shot at somebody else farther in the draft. I'm never touching Jameis Winston. I'm moving away from that.
And Mariota has never had any problems with off-field things, so I think he'd be safe.
Exactly.
In that aspect.
Yep, exactly. Mariota is a solid pick. All right, Grant, a short what-if segment today. All right. Well, my what-if for you today, Grant, you can call me you can be whatever you want to be to me. My what-if to you, Grant, is what if Matt Flynn never has his 6-touchdown game against the Lions? What happens to Matt Flynn?
Matt Flynn still has that fantastic game against the Patriots, so I think he's still a prospect. I don't think he leaves Green Bay, though. I think he stays in Green Bay because I don't think there would be as much of an interest in him. He still might go to Seattle because his contract was up, so the Packers might have gotten rid of him if a team was in desperate need of a quarterback.
Yes, that is possible.
So he could have gone. He still might have gotten paid. I don't think he would have gotten paid as much, but
not $10 million or whatever the heck.
He would not have. In the long run, he would not have gotten paid that much.
Sure,
and he might not have gotten the starting job at Green Bay. He might not have come back.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. All right, Grant, your what if for me?
All right, my what if for you is, what if God did us all a favor and got rid of the SEC?
Oh my goodness! Well, that's
in college football. We'll just
college
go with
football.
College
the SEC
football.
is no longer able to play college football. Well, I think the NFL as a whole would probably self-combust because the SEC runs the NFL in terms of the players they produce. I know as a Badger fan, a Big Ten fan, it would be very nice to not have to deal with the SEC anymore. They would really open up the college football landscape. But at the same time, I think the NFL, which is the main reason players go to the SEC is to get to the NFL, would suffer greatly because of that. I think that's,
So NFL will suffer, but all the other college football fans in the world would sing the praises.
Everybody would be thrilled if the SEC just suddenly just vanished. Just gone.
I mean, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. That's what it is.
Because every day in and day out, it's the SEC. Nobody's good as the SEC. I mean, people have feelings too. So does the Big Ten, the Big 12, the ACC, everybody.
The Pac-10, Mountain West, Conference USA.
Big East.
Woo! It's all possible. All right. Well, this has been another edition of the Bax and Grant Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. We had a pretty fun show today, as we always do, Grant. Remember, check us out on Facebook, like the Bax and Grant Sports Show Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter at BG Sports Show, or shoot us an email at bgsportshow@gmail.com. Grant, final thoughts before the show runs out on us.
I just want to say that all the people talk to us on Twitter. That's really great. It's great to see more people following us, more people liking the Facebook page. So it's really great to see the people watching or listening, and to see them constantly listening, because we can see that we're getting constant support. So it's really great.
It really means a lot
so
to
thank
all
you.
of us. Yep. So thank you very much. For Grant Coppersmith, I'm Baxter Colburn. We will see you all on Wednesday. Until then, have a great rest of your day, folks. See ya!